Hey, are you turning 50? Or are you already traveling through your 50s like me? Turning 50 is a pivotal time in your life, and there is a right way and a wrong way to spend your 50s. I'm going to share with you in this video the wrong way to go through your 50s. This is an important video. I encourage you to stay tuned. Okay, I've done some other videos about turning 50 and enduring your 50s. However, I think it's a great decade in more ways than one, but I've lived through a lot of these behaviors that I'm getting ready to share with you. So I feel like I have firsthand experience with it. So hang on, because I've got 12 bad behaviors to engage in your 50s. Okay, bad rule number one: thinking that you can stick with the same old bad habits that you've had all your life. Smoking may have been fun in your 20s, but it's taken a huge toll on your life, and now is the time to really think about trying very hard to quit. Also, let the 20 and 30-year-olds have their hangovers. But by this time in your life, in your 50s, it's time to say good riddance to those. The junk food binging is not going to be forgiving at this age in your life either. So if there ever was a time, a good time for kicking bad habits, then in your 50s is the best time to do that. The second wrong way to spend your 50s is not strength training and building muscle. Now, I've said this before, that if you aren't doing some kind of strength training, we're losing 4 to 6 pounds of muscle every decade that passes. And we need that muscle now more than ever. We need to build it up for our 60s and our 70s and beyond. You can build muscle at any age. It doesn't matter how old you are, what you've done or not done. You'd be amazed. Just get you some dumbbells or some exercise bands and just take off 5 minutes a day. The third worst way to spend your 50s is not eating fruits and vegetables. Yeah, junk food tastes great, but so do fruits. I mean, I try to load up on lots of fruits. There are vegetables that I hated before, but I found that if I just made myself eat them a few more times, you kind of get a taste for them. I mean, now I love Brussels sprouts. I mean, the fiber and the nutrients in the fruits and vegetables is great. So even if you don't cut out the junk food, just add the fruits and vegetables in there at every meal. That would be the right way to spend your 50s. The fourth bad behavior in your 50s would be to accumulate more and more debt and not have a plan to reduce or get out of that debt, at least by retirement age. Most of our growth phases are in our 20s and 30s, even 40s, where we're building a family, we're building a career, we're acquiring property, possibly. But when we get to our 50s, it's best if we can just maintain those things that we've built up over those decades and not try to um, get ourselves into more and more debt at this stage of our life. To accumulate more and more debt at this stage in our life without a plan to pay it off, it's just a recipe for disaster at this age. And speaking of recipes, the fifth missing ingredient in our 50s would be not saving big time for retirement. I've said this before in my videos. This is the decade where you've got to get serious for retirement. You do not want to work the rest of your life. And even if you do, there will come a time that we won't be able to work. So we've got to prepare for that. And waiting until your 60s, that's too late. You won't have time to compound any of that wealth. So do as much as you can now. You'd be amazed at how much it will grow in a decade. The sixth wrong way to spend your 50s is to not do balance and flexibility exercises. Have you noticed that getting out of bed in your 50s is harder than it used to be? We're stiff. I mean, I know 70 and 80-year olds who can't raise their arms above their shoulders. These things will sneak up on you. And it's one of those things, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. You can do things to stay flexible. There are workouts online that you can do. You can, I mean, you don't even need to follow along with a workout. You know, things that you can do to stretch and work out those muscles and ligaments and tendons because they just get stiffer with age. Balance becomes a huge thing as we get older. So, we've got these little stabilizer muscles that keep us balanced all of the time. And, all through our life, we don't even know that those muscles are there because, we don't have any problem with balance. And you probably won't have many problems in your 50s either. But those muscles will deteriorate as you get older. So there are lots of things you can do. I like to, when I brush my teeth in the morning, I stand on the left leg. And then when I brush my teeth in the evening, I stand on my right leg for the full time that I'm brushing my teeth. That's just a little exercise snack that you can put in there. But yoga, there's all kinds of things that you can do. But simply just, like I said, standing on one leg for a couple of minutes at a time, you'll feel those muscles down there around your ankles and in your legs kicking in. And that's exactly what you want. Okay, everyone, before I name the next six on the list, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I like to do videos just like these on optimizing our lives and our time and our money, especially relevant to people that are in this Gen X group of people who are in their mid 40s to late 50s. So, if those things interest you, I would love for you to subscribe and become a part of our community and a part of my channel. Thank you. So, do you want to know the seventh bad way to go through your 50s? That's not getting annual blood work for things such as blood sugar, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol numbers. I speak from experience here. I noticed in my late 40s that my cholesterol numbers were going up, 20 and 30 points each year. So I also noticed that my blood glucose was putting me closer and closer to prediabetes. And those things will really start showing up in your 50s. But there are so many things that you can do to reverse those things, but you can only reverse them if you know about them. And if you don't get that annual blood work, then you won't have any idea what's going on. And many of those things have no symptoms at all. High blood pressure many times give off no symptoms. High blood sugar, same way. Especially when we're in those borderline numbers. A lot of times you can do just small changes to your diet. Sometimes those numbers, you'll know what the culprits are, whether it's too many sweets or too many fats, and just making some changes to your diets will reverse those numbers, and medications won't always be necessary. So don't spend your 50s not knowing what your blood work numbers are. And speaking of health, the eighth wrong way to spend your 50s is not getting a colonoscopy. Yeah, I said it. But it's that rite of passage. Turning 50, get the colonoscopy, and then you'll know. And they can catch these things early and treat them if there are any problems. And I know too that a lot of people are eligible for the blood test instead of the colonoscopy. They've made great strides in that as well, where you can just get a blood test to test for colon cancer. But colon cancer is the fastest rising uh, rates of cancer, especially in younger people. So don't spend your 50s without getting that colonoscopy, or at least getting the blood test that can test for that. You want to know the ninth worst way to spend your 50s? That's by not having health insurance. Okay, I know in America especially, healthcare premiums are no joke. But hopefully, in your state, there is some health plan that you are eligible for that you can get a lower price by maybe getting a higher deductible because any health insurance is better than none at all. And maybe we've been extremely healthy all our life, we never get sick, and who needs health insurance, especially at those rates. But the lifestyle choices that we've made throughout our lives and just the wear and tear on our bodies, you've got to have healthcare insurance in your 50s and beyond. And another insurance faux pas that you could be making in your 50s is not having adequate liability coverage on your homeowners and auto insurance. Now, I didn't know anything about this until a few years ago. I just had the state minimums on my auto liability insurance. That was all that was required, and it made my premiums a little cheaper, so I just went with that. Until I discovered that I've heard some stories online of people, even wealthy people, who have lost their wealth and lost their savings because they only had the state minimum requirements for liability insurance, and then they were in an accident, or maybe one of their children on their policy was in an accident and it was at fault. They get sued, and it can wipe out all your wealth, all your assets. Raising your liability limits on your auto and homeowners insurance really does not cost that much at all. I was actually very surprised. But look into that. Call your insurance agent and just talk to them about that. Because if you're carrying just the minimums and then you look at what that minimum coverage is, and then look at maybe your 401k balance or the value and equity that you've built up in your home. Because if your 401k investments and the equity in your home is more than the liability limit you have, then you are really at risk, putting your money at risk if there was to be an accident or a bad event like that. So make sure your liability limits at least surpass the possessions that you have built up all these years. Okay, turning a blind eye to the tax burdens you're going to face in retirement is a horrible way to spend your 50s. So, number 11 on the list, if you are invested heavily into just a 401k only, it's time in your 50s to start looking at other investments, other vehicles that you can use to save for retirement. Our 401ks, most of those, they're pre tax. And we've saved all these decades on our taxes by contributing to our 401k. But of course, the government is going to want that tax eventually, and that's when you start withdrawing that in your retirement years. What you see on that balance sheet is not the true number. You've got to take out the tax, whatever tax rate you'll be in when you retire, and none of us really know what that's going to be until we get there. But if you can get something that's after tax, or something that's really tax friendly, such as an HSA investment account, something to take some of the weight off of that 401k balance and just to put it in other things that are tax friendly, so that when you do retire, you'll have a lot more options to choose from. And some years you may want to take out things that will generate tax, or you may want to take out things that don't generate tax. And if you have accounts of both types, you'll have more options. And the last worst way to spend your 50s, and number 12 on my list, is trying to impress people and or worrying what other people think. By the time you turn 50, you've earned the right to not care what others think of you, within reason, of course. And if you're still trying to impress people in your 50s, why is that? Life is too short to waste on caring what other people think of you. Now, I'm not talking about not caring what our loved ones or what our family thinks of us. You know what I mean. By this time, in your life. Turning 50, it's a huge milestone. You've seen a lot, you've done a lot, and you owe it to yourself to enjoy your 50s by being true to you. Okay, that's my list. Sometimes we have to get serious with ourselves and tell ourselves the right things to do. So leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought of this list. Tell me some of the things that, the mistakes you've made, and share them with all of us. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to have you on my next video. Have a great day. I'll see you later.